amends. You'll be fine by me, my friend. And should there be a reason to pretend, because you're reading our dearest friend, don't be afraid to grab my hand. Though it may not ever end, watch the stars and make amends. You'll be fine by me, my
All I wanna do is to put my arms around you and watch these moments fall back into place. All I wanna do is to make you stop and love me. How can I be blue when you catch me in these feelings like okay. I love you, I do need you, I do love you, I do need you, I love you, I do need you, oh, I love you, I do need you, oh, I love you, I do need you, I do love you, I do need you, I love you, I do need you, oh, I love you, I do need you. All I wanna do is to put my arms around
you gonna do? And I can't stop thinking about you, but what you gonna do? And you know I'm feeling good like that, so what you gonna do? And I can't stop thinking about you, but what you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Mini RPG of the Week. This is week 19 of Season 3, powering through, approaching that season finale rapidly, and potentially some exciting news to come in the future about upcoming Mini RPG of the Week events. But for now, that remains in the future, and we'll focus on this week, where we are joined by the first time by Import. Import, welcome to Mini RPG of the Week.
Hi. I was dragged here
Don't say against your will. Don't make it sound worse than it is, okay?
with my permission, and I am not here because I might be fined if I don't appear.
That's, yeah. If I speak, I'm in big trouble, except it's the opposite because it's casting. If I don't speak, I'm in big trouble, is how that goes, I think, more often. You're coming
I'm doing good.
For a very nice week. I think we're looking forward to this one. Rage au Volant is the mapper for this week. Has mapped once previously, but it was in one of the very few weeks where there was no Mini RPG of the Week cast, and it was all the way back in Season 2, which is like, I don't know, forever ago at this point.
Yeah, wasn't there, couldn't tell you, but I'm
same,
excited to see what he has.
I had to flick through the Wikipedia and be like, what's going on? What happened here? Like, you know, and then there was no cast, and I'm like, well, all right, that's rough. What we do know is that last time around, Rage's map was a very straightforward, not a pathfinding map, just one where you could see the track and it was all about actually just executing tricks. What we have been promised this week instead, Import, is a little bit more of a pathfinding heavy map, one that maybe actively attempts to deceive the players.
Yeah, so like you said, what I've seen from it, or at least what I've seen from the brief that I was given, is that people are going to have a little bit hard time finding their way at the beginning and everything. That's why there's more time allotted for the discovery for this map today. Well, it'll be interesting to see who picks it up quickly. I assume those who are very avid Trackmania players will obviously find it pretty quickly. However, it should be fun. Maybe we'll find some surprises along the way. Maybe things won't be as clear as day for some of these players. So yeah, I'm interested to see how it's going to turn out.
And of course, it is Mini RPG of the Week, so there will still be a GPS. And ever since the couple of incidents we had with inaccessible GPSs, where the GPS itself was locked behind a relatively difficult trick, we've stopped doing that. So you know what? I'm going to assume that there will be a GPS freely available for the players to avail themselves of. But even still, with a track that kind of does have maybe some of those more pathfinding elements, especially if you are a newer player, especially if you're someone who doesn't have Trackmania brain rot like the rest of us, it can be difficult to start to, you know, remember paths, you know, just actually getting that knowledge into your brain after only seeing it a couple of times. So I think we're going to see maybe a little bit of struggling from some players, and that's before we even talk about how difficult the track is going to be, because I'm sure there's still going to be the usual, some fairly difficult tricks to execute.
Yeah, I mean, execute, yes.
Execute?
Yeah, they're going to execute this interesting RPG map. But RPG maps are technically always supposed to be difficult, or should be difficult for the most part.
We're going to jump over to the in-game screen, because this is, I'll say it, this isn't exactly what I was expecting to kind of see from a map like this. It's very bright. It's very on grid, it looks like, as well. It's going to be interesting to see what this looks like from driver POV. I was kind of expecting something dark and twisty and, like, you know, maybe lots of ceilings covering things off. Exactly not it.
Yeah, we'll see how. Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see how it's going to look from player POV. Looks very, I don't want to say basic, but it looks run of the mill RPG esque from the outside. But maybe it'll be different this way here, as already with you spectating Alpha Dream, already deciding to just give up and go to the GPS. But hey, a perfect opportune time to see the GPS now.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll get a good look of what things look like, or meant to look like, on the way through, and then we'll jump back and see some of the players who haven't gone for the GPS and how they're struggling. I mean, look, as you said, kind of more classic, kind of just RPG tried to trick you with everything gone. The map is deliberately kind of designed with a deja vu style in mind, was what was said. So a lot of similar looking blocks, maybe just remembering again exactly what we were talking about, remembering which block does which, right? You see a kind of quarter pipe. Is this the quarter pipe I meant to flip off? Is this the one I meant to do a turnaround on? It's a left turn here into it. I'm sniffing a sequence break already in this style of map.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there's going to be at least some reroute of sorts. Ooh. Here it's just everything is so tightly woven together and everything, so there's bound to be a reroute at some point, whether we see it or not. For this edition of RPG, for this competition today, I have no idea, but Yeah. Interesting map. Has a couple cool little tricks. I like the one where you basically he wall banged into the side of the plastic into the water to like reverse to go back into the CP. That was pretty interesting. Turbo guy already on the struggle bus seemingly. He's
Yeah.
finding his way though. He'll get it.
He'll figure it out, exactly.
Oh, this is the section I was talking about. So yeah, the GPS used the plastic bounce to get really fast into the CP. That was really interesting. I'm interested to see if anybody else picks it up from what the GPS did. I know Turbo's pretty stubborn, so he's probably not going to watch the GPS at all. But
I mean, so far, still doing a pretty good job of figuring out where to go. Hasn't quite figured out that that is a jump. And again, another thing that Rage did note in the mapper notes that we did get from him is having to still put in quote-unquote easy routes in a map like this. Because again, something that we try and look to do for mini RPG of the Week maps is that every checkpoint is drivable essentially without your wheels leaving the ground, right? But like, I mean,
Right.
you can get to each checkpoint, even if you're going to be doing it very slowly. And in a map like this, where it is a little bit about kind of tricking you, making you go for jumps that maybe you wouldn't see otherwise, it was a little bit difficult for Rage to try and figure out places to put those in. And this is one where Turbo found the safe way around but didn't quite figure out the jump just yet, and now is just refusing to go over the freewheel, because you're kind of trained to not go near freewheels on RPG maps, right? The brain is like, no,
Right.
that's bad. Big red squares on the ground.
now he's trying. I see what he's trying to do, but yeah, he's going the wrong way.
He'll find it eventually.
It's
At some
okay.
point-
I get to make fun of Turbo, which is my favorite pastime, because he likes to make fun of me all the time. So, except the one day, I will say I have a fun story for you and for everyone. So maybe 3 weeks ago, me and Turbo ended up playing Cup of the Day together on a stream, and it was the Speed Plastic map. That was just a couple weeks ago. I think it was 2 weeks ago. And so we're playing it together, and Turbo is by far a much better player than me. And I'm not bad, but I am not consistently good. So we were playing Cup of the Day. He's streaming. I'm just playing because I had the podcast literally right after that, our Drop Gears podcast. So I was playing it. We play it, and he's like he's struggling to get to like Div 1 because that's always his goal, which is like a good admiral goal. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm trying. He's like, how are you doing import? And I'm like, I'm a little in the mud. I'm struggling, and everything's. But something clicks, and I'm like, wait, I know how to play full speed, and there's a lot of full speed sections on that map. So I eventually get it down, and all of a sudden, with maybe like 45 seconds to go, I get 30th place in qualies, so I get Div 1, and he ended up in Div 4, and so for the first time ever, Turbo said he was proud of me, and I'm never gonna let him live that down.
You know, big moment all around. I just want to get back to that story in a second and, just reflect even more, bask in it. Corzo skipping the engine off block there was really interesting. Going around that checkpoint. Now, we'll have to wait and see if that does end up being faster, because it did look like a very awkward setup in order to pull that off, and the reset block is essentially directly after the jump anyway. You are not spending very much time accelerating with the engine off block skip, but at the moment, Corzo is the best time in the server, so you know what? It may be working, and is only now choosing to go for the GPS. So there we go. As players are starting to set times, still only 15 times set on the server. No, we're down to 21 now. We have some more time set. And we're approaching that 1 minute mark. It was a 1 minute mark that Rage did say was likely to be a good time for rounds.
Okay, now we got two people. So we have Corzo, and now we have Potade. And now we have another fastest time from
Sidzer. Or Sidezer. This has been a struggle for weeks at this point, okay? It's something like that. Sidzer?
Is that their name? I thought it.
Yes.
Because in the UI it says Nabla, so.
That's yeah. That's it's the local records over on the right side is actual finish times. Left side is current checkpoint times.
Okay, I'm dumb. All right, mudded. Anyways, so yeah, no. Okay, Sizer, yep, looking at the right side now. This isn't Evo SC, so I'm clearly confused.
Well, this is it. There's too many. We need to just standardize them all. Honestly, maybe Nadeo shouldn't allow for custom UIs on servers. Maybe it's just a mess.
No, sir.
I just
No,
wanted
sir.
to get the reaction.
Interesting opinion, but it's the wrong one.
Yeah, just rage baiting in mid-cast.
Yeah, no, sides are okay. Lucario with a 104. So, okay, so we have quite a few 110s and below. So we have a top 9
there.
right now. Yeah, we're getting there.
Pretty good. I feel a cut or a full reroute of some kind, especially with the kind of longer 20-minute warm-up that they've had, like an extra 5 minutes to kind of be like, okay, I've figured out the path, I'm getting my bearings where everything is in relation to each other. How do I break these checkpoints? Because there's usually one player who just has the idea that breaks something a little bit. And Corza was kind of going for it a little bit, trying to skip that engine off, but this is Corza now looking to set a new PB and did just go directly for the engine off, drive over it after watching the GPS. So I think that one pretty quickly abandoned, and I'm still just I want to see it, you know? I love a good reroute. I love seeing people break the map. Sorry, mappers.
No, it's a good thing to break the map though, right? It shows the mapper where they can improve, especially if the goal for them is not to have the map broken, then they need to know where potential breaks could be, and this is a perfect avenue for them to learn where not to map in a bad way, or map optimally is the word I was looking for. There we go. We did it. We got there eventually. Turbo. He's in fourth now. A minute 3.
You try and find Turbo in this list. I love the warm-up list as all the names change places randomly, and oh, there we go. Still managed to click on Turbo successfully without being trolled by someone's name dipping out. Sidzer still sits at the top of the leaderboard there at the moment, and that's interesting to me. There was one specific point. It is on the jump before you go into the freewheel, before you have to land on the pipe while freewheeled, where Sidzer is landing much further to the right than anyone that we've seen so far as well, which is allowing him to accelerate a little bit more into the freewheel gate, and so just carrying a little bit more speed through that section. And it's optimizations like that you expect to see over the course now of the next few minutes, where players really start to nail down their lines and then potentially spend the last few minutes either looking for those cuts or kind of just nailing down recovery lines, testing safeways, and seeing which ones, you know, how to drive the safeways, making sure that if you have a bad round, you can recover still.
For sure. Now I apologize because I'm just in awe of this map is why my brain's having a mental lag moment here. But it's curious to me for, like, as somebody who has played Mini RPG of the Week before, it's interesting to see everybody's strategy of how to learn the map, because I would immediately give up. And if there's ghosts available already for the map times, I'm immediately going for that. I don't know if you can watch ghosts live here. I don't think you can.
No idea. Probably not.
I don't think so. But yeah, I would just be first off, I would turn everybody's ghosts on. When I actually race competitions, I race with all ghosts on. Yeah, people think I'm psychotic.
The opening rounds of like a Mini RPG of the Week, like 80 car start, and you just have every ghost on?
No.
Okay.
But when it does get down to like top 16, I 100% turn it on.
Yeah. I personally, I get it, right? I fully understand why people turn the cars off, because like, oh, no distractions. But in terms of like just actively constantly reading like how aggressive I need to be corner by corner, like that could be very useful.
The best way to explain my mental state is if anybody who's ever watched like greyhound dog races before, where the dogs chase the little rabbit. Yeah, that's my brain when it comes to playing Trackmania. I have to have something to follow and chase, and eventually at some point I will surpass it. Now, unless it's a world record ghost, probably not. But most of the time, like if it's something that I know is tangible for myself, and I like it's not pixel perfect reactions and timings, usually I'm able to surpass whatever limit there is. But yeah, as far as most people, that obviously doesn't work for a lot of people. In fact, it never works for a lot of people, just because I've heard so many people, especially my team, judge me for the fact that I use ghosts in so many different things. Like, for example, there's Racing Rumble championship series going on right now, and for our competitions it's all 3v3, and I race with ghosts on during competitions and everything, and I have one guy trying to shot call for me, telling me what's happening. I'm like, yeah, my guy, I know what's happening. I know what's going on. I see.
Yeah, that's I like, again, look, I see both sides of the argument for it, you know, and I don't think it's as big a detriment if you're used to it as some people complain about. But like, it's the same in any level of competition, right?
Yeah.
Like, I do a bit of climbing, and I like watching very good climbers climb, because fucking insane what those people can do,
of course.
right? And like, all of them have their climbing shoes, and the whole point is you want no slip inside your shoes either. You want them very tight fitting, because otherwise your foot moves a little bit, your weight shifts, and you fall off a wall because you were standing on something the width of a credit card, right?
Exactly.
There's one female climber who climbs wearing socks inside her shoes, which is like, that's insane. Nobody else, like, at the top level of competition does that. But, you know, I mean, obviously she learned to do it at some point and just got more comfortable with it. And, like, you can adapt to basically anything, is what I'm saying, you know?
It's true. And I think for some, like, at least for me, I'm very visual when I learn. And I'm able to take out the interesting, at least the way my brain works, I'm able to remove visual clutter. If there's too much going on, I'm able to ignore what's happening and pinpoint focus on a specific object, even if there's multiple objects moving around it. So yeah, that's how I learn. Not everybody's like that. And
yeah.
Now I don't really know why I brought it up in the first place, but anyways, yeah, as far as this is concerned...
That's the mini RPG of the week way, baby. Why did we get onto this topic? What's going on? Who's saying what? I want to draw your attention, Import, to the player currently sitting in 4th place on the local times. Sorry, 14th place on the local times. And ask if you know what I think... Is that Malaysian? I don't know what language that is.
14th place? Oh, you think that's Malaysian? Oh, my poor brother. That is Japanese, my guy.
Is it Japanese?
That is Japanese, my guy.
I thought it was looking too rounded to be Japanese, I think. I don't know.
No, it's Japanese.
Okay, no, that's fair. I'll take your word for it. I mean, listen, my ability to recognize scripts that are not Romanic or Roman or Cyrillic, it's non-existent, okay?
You're just making all of us main English speakers look really bad right now, but it's
true.
okay.
It's true. I mean, these things happen, okay? We'll figure it out. I'll rely on you for translation of that then as we get closer to the top 10.
If it makes you feel any better, I typically can't see the difference between Russian and Greek alphabets, so like
fair. I did do a lot of classics in school, so I feel like I have a jaded view of how easy it is to recognize the Greek alphabet specifically from that.
And Japanese, as far as Japanese goes, it can be confusing sometimes, because if it's like traditional Japanese, it'll be more close to Chinese characters. Yeah. That's when it gets like really like, I don't know if this is Chinese or Japanese, but that was what's written there. They wrote it in kanji, I believe is the word.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Yeah. We also, Jaxie is in Twitch chat asking who the soft shoe moving on. Who the soft shoe climber was, and it wasn't specifically soft shoes. It was a woman who was climbing wearing socks inside her shoes. Which is what most people do day to day, but most climbers climb barefoot inside their shoes. And I don't remember what her name was, which is what the question actually was. But I just thought I'd clarify, you know. It's it was what was kind of weird about it. There's some other climbers who do. I think Natalia Grossman is an American climber, and I believe she climbs with like 2 different shoes, like a different style of shoe on each foot. Just because she likes individually the way each one feels on each foot, but doesn't like the pair, which is just, you know, you do what you gotta do. It's pretty impressive. And oh, Yannick's is here. That's always nice.
Yeah, I saw him popping around a little bit, but
Yeah. We'll see where he's at. Currently not sitting on the top 15 of times. I mean, the fact that Alpha Dream was here, usually a pretty solid giveaway that Yannick's is not going to be far behind, given that they tend to play these together. But Yannick's currently sitting outside the top 15 on times, but that's one of those things where you're like, that'll change. At some point, Yannick's will probably put in an appearance on that leaderboard.
yeah, he's always constantly doing RPG style content. I remember watching him just not too long ago where he just released I believe, or was in the process of making an RPG map. So
What's happened
unsurprising.
here is that I've said, look, Yannick's isn't on the list because I started at the bottom and scanned upwards and missed the fact that he is at the top of the list. Thank you, Brain. Very useful.
It's okay. It's okay. I saw him like log in earlier, and then when you were talking about it, I was like, oh yeah, he's in first. That makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. No,
That's
my
okay.
brain's just small. Sometimes it don't work so good. We haven't talked about the finish yet on this map, and we're running out of time here in the warm-up. And specifically the fact that there isn't two finish lines. Well, okay, look, there's two finish blocks side by side, but there's one finish line. Which is a little bit unusual for Mini RPG of the Week, you know. More often there is, pretty much always, we have a risky fin and a safe fin. Even if it is just one finish line, there's a risky option and a safe option to get into it. Here it's very much just about, you know, choosing your level of risk going into that last quarter pipe and then just aiming the jump to try and get it. Some players going for the platform on the right to try and get that last little bit of acceleration. Some players just going directly for the finish, but no real time gains or saves to be made either way, which could lead to some very, very tight finishes.
Yeah, I think majority of this map was intended, just from the vibe that I get from majority of the risk factors and everything is all intended for the map itself and not the finish. The finish seems to be rather more of just an ends to a means type of finish where the focus is mainly all on the route itself and not overdoing it with the finish here. So I think that's at least my assumption for this map, although I don't know the mapper. I don't typically know. There's some info about the mapper that we got, but even from that, it didn't really help me personally much, as I'm not very familiar with the mapper, especially anybody from quite a few people from TMNF. I'm more of a Team 2020 guy, so unfortunately, the TMNF names, unless they're like a bigger name, I have no idea of that type of history with those players. But we have our first sub minute. From Sidzer.
Yeah, reclaiming it from
59.833.
Yannick's. Doing well to do so. Again, Rage did kind of say in that document that they reckoned it was likely to be kind of sub-minute times were going to be very good, and it's very late reaching that. With 20 minutes of warm-up gone, we're only just hitting a time of just under 1 minute, and it is only one player to do it so far. Expect to see that continue to creep down over the course of the rounds. No idea how many players have actually joined the server yet, but it's probably going to be, you know, the usually kind of 15, 20 to 25 rounds before we get all the way to our final two, which for the top players means plenty of time to continue to optimize before you really have to worry about one mistake actually sending you out.
For sure. So is it now time that we predict how many people are going to go out in the first round? Is it time to make that prediction?
Yeah. Well, listen, we'll wait until we'll see. As soon as we get into this first no elimination round, it'll tell us how many players are starting that round. And
that's cheating.
No, because there is the key information that if there's over 64 players, then at least 8 players are getting eliminated, 100%. Because,
right.
And then if it's under 64, it's at least 4 players. So it's no elimination in this round, and then in the next, so we're guessing for the next round, 86 players. All right, how many players are getting eliminated, Import? I can go first if you want. You're the guest here. I can make my guess.
I'll go first because during your podcast, I forced you to guess first about the arena size for Cologne's arena. So I'll do it this time. I'm gonna say 25.
Ooh, that's a high number. I'll say that right up front. I think you've gone with a very high number there because I feel like this is a very finishable map. You know, like it's
Quick question. How long is the
Ooh,
the
it's a great
countdown
question.
timer?
Honestly, it fully depends on how Zeterate is feeling right now, or Black Pulse. I'm not sure who's actually setting the time on the server. It's probably going to be on a map about a minute long, 90 seconds or so. We should see at the end of this round as well. Once someone crosses the line in the next 5 seconds or so, we'll get an idea of how long this finish timeout is going to be. It's going to be 80 seconds.
80 seconds.
80
okay.
seconds.
Okay. All right. I changed my number. I'm gonna still keep it high, but I'm gonna say 18.
Okay, listen, 18's very solid. I have faith in the mini RPG of the week, Faithful, and I'm gonna give them a solid 10. I just think it's a nice round number. I think 10 players are dropping out in this round. Now, the fact that, like, 3 players did join in the last 10 seconds before we started does mean that probably that's at least 3 players going out immediately off the bat, because it is very hard to learn a map in, you know, a single minute-and-a-half long warm-up round, as T-Talk is currently showing us. But getting there, slowly. So we have an 18, we have a 10, if anyone wants to guess, in Twitch chat or on the server as well. There's some 14s, a 7 from Corzo, which is literally impossible. 4 from someone else, also literally impossible. Guaranteed at least 8 players going out in this first round. 14, 10, Skyzen going 26, so even 1 over your original guess of 25.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how it's gonna be in the first round. But what I did also notice, I mean, it is Yannick, so tamper your expectations with my next comment here. But I do think it's really crazy how immediately it's not even the elimination round, and he already has a solid, consistent minute time.
Yeah. Now, Yannick's MO in Mini RPG of the Week, very good time. Reach kind of 30, 40 players left, have several rounds in a row where he makes long appearances in the elimination zone, survive those anyway, and then eventually get eliminated in, like, you know, somewhere in the top 5. But sometimes he does get caught in that elimination zone for a couple of checkpoints too long and face a very early elimination.
Yep, that's the typical I'm too fast for everybody, so I'm just gonna mentally AFK for a little bit and then realize, oh, I forgot I was racing in a competition.
It fully depends on when Alpha goes out as well, because they're probably in a call together. And if Alpha gets eliminated, he will distract Yannick for the rest of the competition.
The typical friend debuff. I get it.
It's very strong. Well, at the moment, no one has finished, because we're about 10 seconds away from when we expect them to. No Pix is sitting in 80th place, and unfortunately is going for the safest possible right here, dropping very early into the water. But, you know, I mean, it's a time loss, but not an insurmountable one, with only 55 seconds, alright? We lied to you, Import. It was not an 80-second timeout, it was a 55-second timeout. I'll give you a quick readjust on your time if you want. Do you want to rechange the number, because we lied?
Ooh, yeah. I mean, 25 was my original, so it's
and then you
stick
went
with
to
my original.
17, I think?
18? Yeah, I started with 18.
So back to 25. Yeah. I think 25 is still very high. You're more than welcome to stay low if you want. We'll call it either one. You can have 2 guesses. I'm still sticking with that 10, and I'll be honest, I'm not feeling good about it, because currently No Pix in 75th is looking to not finish the map, and that means well over 10 players unlikely to finish. No Pix dropping down to 76th as well. And all the players behind in the bottom 8 already DNF'd. 8 seconds left. Players looking to get across the line. This is 74th place. 4 seconds left. Hisoka is so close. 1 second. No! Eliminated, and it's 13 players gone in round 1.
So, I priced... Wait, did I price this right? I did. I went over it. All right, I lost.
Yeah, well, I said 10, and you said 17. So we're both close, but I am closer.
Yeah, you're close. I said 18, so you were even more closer than.
I've had a lot more practice at this point. Okay, judging the mini RPG of the week players.
That's fair. Yeah, this is my first time actually guessing, considering I've only played twice. So, and I just assume that everybody's bad. So, we'll see how that. We see that it didn't work out for me too well there, but you know what? It's okay. I'm surviving. Ooh. I'm still watching Turbo this entire time, so because I like to tease him and give him pressure. But yeah, he made a mistake. It's kind of fun to watch. But
we can just get that. You can just give us the Turbo updates. Various times mid round.
But actually, this time Jozo is in the lead.
Yeah. Looking quick at the moment as well.
I was waiting to see his name too, because I'm like, I know Jozo's really good at this RPG of the week, so typically, so I know he's gonna do pretty well. Gets sniped by Sidzer at the end, but second place with a 1017, 1016.9, I think that is. Math. Yes. Wait, 89. 689.
I think.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll take your word for it. I was too busy focusing on the players down here who are currently fighting for their lives. Jaxie, who has maybe just been a little bit too distracted by Twitch chat, was struggling a little bit, but should be safely across the finish line in those safe spots. At the moment, it's Scrum, who's a little bit behind. A couple of players respawning in front, though, means that there might be room for one or two of these players to get into the finish. In fact, Scrum, I think, is going to do it, and that is a 67th place, just inside the top 68 required to get through to this next round. So, well played. Panada is going to be trying to get across the line, but it is just a little bit too late. 70th place, and this is our second last round of 8 eliminations. The big name eliminated there, I see Heave has gone out in 72nd, and Heave should probably not be going out in 72nd place.
To be fair, I wonder if he had enough time to practice, because I saw him during the first no elimination round, and then the second, very first elimination round. So I'm assuming he just didn't have enough time to play. Because you're right, he shouldn't be sitting that far back, and he's typically not that type of player. So I just don't think he had enough time for this week. However, Jozo now, after I was talking about him, he is a bit on the struggle bus right now, sitting in 60th. He's in the danger zone. I don't think he's going to stay in the danger zone, but he's sitting pretty far back.
No, he is hopefully going to climb back out. Jozo, a good player, but I don't no, Jozo has won a single edition of Mini RPG of the week before. I'm sure we'd love to add to that total as well. Could you hazard a guess at who the best Mini RPG of the week player of all time is?
Ooh. I'm gonna say... Is it somebody that's playing right now?
I don't believe so.
Okay, then I'm gonna say Marius.
It is not Marius. Marius is in 4th place.
Okay.
And also has not won an edition yet in Season 3, which is, given that he's still sitting in 4th place, quite impressive, given we're now 19 weeks into Season 3. Jozo just got eliminated as well. Hang on. Wild things going on there. We'll get back to this in a second. But Jozo does get eliminated.
No, wait, he did. No, I think he made it.
Oh, no, did make it. I was wrong.
No, you were right for a second, because the UI showed that he was eliminated. But
yeah, the UI was trying to troll me. The UI does not particularly like these rounds of 8 eliminations, and it tries to put the line there, except it will show a random player below the line who's actually in like 58th place. Okay,
Lucario, though, going out. That is pretty crazy.
Yes, and Scrom gone to Jaxie, unfortunately eliminated. But
Jozo did get eliminated.
Jozo does get eliminated. What's that? Well, sometimes the scoreboard just likes to troll. All right, listen, don't worry about it. It'll be fine once we get some of these other players out of the way. But Jozo will be eliminated. No second Mini RPG of the week title. I will tell you who the most winning player is, and I kind of accidentally gave it away in the question, because you know when you're thinking about a word and you just say it. I did ask if you'd like to hazard a guess. The most winning Mini RPG of the week player of all time is just Hazard.
Okay, well, I personally would have never guessed that, so...
That's entirely fair. Hazard has won 8 editions, including 4 so far in Season 3, which is pretty impressive, and 4 in Season 1, with no wins in Season 2. So, you know, that's just kind of fun. And then it's Yannick's and Ice, who are tied with 7 wins apiece, and Marius is then in 4th place with 6, and then 1 player on 4, and then you start to get down into the 3s and the 2s and the 1s, and there's a lot of players down there. There you go. Shout out to Zeterate, again, our lovely admin who puts everything together, who, when I was like, oh, I'm thinking about actually going through the Wikipedia and figuring out how many winners we have, who's won the most and stuff, he was like, oh, I have a spreadsheet that tracks all that. Do you want it? And I was like, yes.
How
absolutely.
Useful.
Ideal.
That's how I feel when that happens for us for our events. I'm like, oh, you've been tracking in a spreadsheet? Gimme.
Yeah, I will take... Oh, Sitzer! hang on a second, Scissor's going to get sniped. It's going to still be okay. It's still a 55th place. But sniped at the line by Riagday. That's definitely one of those pronunciations might be correct. But that's getting close. Some players, this is not a map that I looked at and was like, the players who are setting good times are really going to struggle with consistency, you know? Like, I mean, there's some slightly weird jumps, but it doesn't feel like anything where you're, you know, trying to do a 360 off an ice half pipe or something, like, to get to that finish. It didn't feel like there was anything to me that looked like it was going to be a massive issue.
Right.
But here we are.
Here we are.
Anyway.
And Lucario going out that last round, so...
Disaster. The player
Disaster
in the
for some of these
who
players.
Managed to correctly guess the number of players who were going to be eliminated. And now he's gone. Honestly, you hate to see it. But you know what? A little bit of pride will still appear on the winner's leaderboard. That's an unfortunate bounce for Riagday. I don't know if you saw that one, but it turns out, Import, that if you land on the pipe after the freewheel a little bit too far to the side, you can slip far enough down in order to catch the nose of your car on the water edge in front of you, which will just send you flying backwards. So, something to keep an eye on. As meanwhile in this round, Scissor, Alpha, and Artis are all currently sitting in the bottom 4.
Yep, and here comes the doom of Yannex if Alpha doesn't finish, right?
Exactly.
So, oh yeah, and Alpha is really in the mud right now. Really in the mud right now. So he's got quite a bit of ground that he's gonna have to catch up, and he's just making a mistake every single second I'm talking right now. So yeah, I think he's gonna go out here. I think it's it. So rip to Yannex. I think it's also your time.
It's those mid kind of, you know, the 30s and Alpha, those mid 30s and 40s rounds where Yannick sometimes has a struggle round but manages to focus up and recover. It's just the focusing up part is going to be that little bit harder now, and trying to get through. We are Alpha gone, Skies and Art gone as well, and getting towards our top 50 at the moment. A couple of decently good players eliminated at the moment. I think let's play a little game, right? We saw RT struggling there too. Which of the players currently in the top 5 at times do you think is going to be eliminated first? It's Sidzer, it's Yannick, it's Neko, it's Ryuhax, or it's Artis?
That's a good question. I think just for the memes, I'm gonna say Yannex.
Yeah, because we can blame it on Alpha.
Right, exactly. So I think it's gonna be Yannex first, but Sidzer has been making mistakes, so he's a high possibility as well. For the other 3, I haven't really seen too many issues from them so far, so I'm fairly confident. Which is not really saying anything at all because I have no confidence whatsoever in myself. But I'm fairly confident that those 3 are going to survive, and it's going to be Yannex first, Sidzer second.
Okay. Listen, we'll wait and see exactly who does end up going out. I'll be honest. I think that's relatively fair. But I'll just say it's going to be Neko, just because it's funny if someone says that. Now, we have immediately switched up the order there, as I believe Yannex jumped a little... No, someone jumped a little bit higher on the leaderboard. Artis managed to improve their time and overtake Ryuhax in that round. And none of them will be eliminated this round. Vorskul was safe, might not be upside down, trying to reach the water. 47th respawns now. Someone else is respawning as well. Ego will be safely through to the line and overtaken 47th place. Heartbreak for Vorskul, who turtles on literally the final piece of road where it is possible to end up turtling.
And unfortunately, the player whose name you've been struggling to pronounce, Riagday, is out.
Oh, what a disaster. Oh,
disaster.
I'm so upset.
I'm sure your pronunciation enjoyment is now over, so...
Yeah, I've just noticed that it's just kind of headgear backwards. So if I ever see them again, we're just going with headgear. Because
it probably is straight up headgear.
Yeah, well, the A and the E in gear are reversed, but like reversing people's names to make my pronunciation easier, I'm fully on board with that, you know?
Yeah, that's fair. I support you in that.
I appreciate it.
we love that for you.
Casters, you know? That's what it's all about.
Okay, so Yannick's still surviving so far.
Uh-huh. Nako also up there, looking well.
I-
Okay, it's dropped back out of the top 4.
I think it's time for another Turbo update here. So let's see how Turbo's up to doing right now. He's been sitting, from what I saw from previous rounds and in this round, he's been hovering like in the mid, like upper 10s, lower teens, or upper single digits, lower teens. So he's been doing pretty good overall, and he's gonna get 8 this round. So yeah, he's still doing pretty good. So Turbo might get a top 10 finish here.
Yeah. Which,
Maybe. He's been consistent, so.
Yeah. He doesn't have many top 10 finishes, I believe. Yeah, he definitely has a few. Probably is up there as one of the players who, appears on that list more than most players. But he equally doesn't have a win in Mini RPG of the Week. So, there's always any week could be your week here in Mini RPG of the Week. We'd love to see Turbo get it. It'd be pretty entertaining. Although it would make it difficult for you to make fun of him if he just straight up won the competition. So, I don't know. Mixed blessings there, potentially.
Hey, honestly, I'd be happy if he won. I think that's really cool. I unlike Turbo, I make fun of him, but I celebrate his accomplishments. So I just want it to be known right now. Thanks.
Unlike this person that I'm complimenting, I can be gracious.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's fair enough. You got to make sure that any compliment comes with a little bit of a backhand, just so people don't forget their place.
Of course. Yeah, you gotta keep them in check and assert your dominance.
Makes sense to me. You'd fit right. Very, very Irish, very British of you in general. That's it. Imagine actually just giving a straight compliment to a friend. I personally
disgusting. That's actually horrid.
How would our egos survive? It'd just be genuine.
I honestly, okay, real talk, I feel very weird when people compliment me. It feels super weird. I'm, of course, like, gracious when people are like, oh my gosh, thank you, and I mean it when I say that. But overall, when people compliment me, I feel very uncomfortable.
Listen, I know exactly where you're coming from. This is my daily. I'm going to bring up Dropout.tv. It used to be called College Humor, is now Dropout TV.
Right.
And they do a lot of great shows. One of which is called Game Changers.
Yes, I love that show.
Exactly, and there's one particular episode where the entire game is contestants have to bet how many of a thing they could do without knowing what that thing is, and just guess based on the host's reaction. And it's a lot of very horrible things. One of the things they ended up betting on was how many hours will you stay in studio after filming today? How many times can you say I'm hungry to a guy on the phone while ordering a pizza?
Yep, I saw that one.
Yeah, and then one of them was how many genuine compliments can you take from the other cast members on this episode? And it was by far the most uncomfortable one for the person who actually got it. Because, yeah, just taking genuine compliments is very difficult.
It is. Because you're so used to, like, especially when you're with friends and everything, or strangers. Well, not strangers, I guess, but with your friends, you're always getting backhanded compliments and, like, or ironic or sarcastic comments all the time. So
yeah. Sorry, I've just noticed that Artis was eliminated in that round as well. So sorry, just not to interrupt our talk about how we can fully not take compliments, which, yeah, I mean, God, it's awful. But Artis eliminated, so our top 5 guesses are wrong in who was going to go out first from those. But fair enough. That will be the end of Artis.
You know what? You genuinely tried to guess it correctly, and honestly, you're still a great caster for that.
If you could stop complimenting me on my own goddamn channel for a second, okay? It's messed up. Honestly messed up. Dobry currently in a little bit of trouble down towards the back. It's not regular Mini RPG of the Week mapper, but has mapped for us several times at this point, and they've been some pretty fun maps as well. And is catching up, overtaking Arsvelu, who's another Mini RPG of the Week mapper with a few maps under their belt. So, a little bit of a fight between the French and the Polish towards the bottom at the moment. And the other thing that we've been doing throughout Season 3 Import is describing the lore of the map. By which I mean making it up completely wholesale over the course of the cast at some point. And I don't really know what to do with it. There's an overarching storyline where there's an evil mining corporation that's going around strip mining various planets and killing alien species that live on them. They're called Theo, which I can't remember what it stands for. I just remember it stands for something. And also, I appeared and then died in the story at some point. So what I'm saying is, how are you feeling about where this map fits into that at all?
Scenery missing, error 404. That's my thought process on that entire lore. If
Yeah,
you're gonna
I
have
mean,
a lore, you better have some scenery to back it up, because I'm not in that. I'm not in I'm not in the story. I'm not in that world. I put myself there.
well, here's where I hit it with, okay, is there's just this, white ice border around the outside. This is clearly several chunks of a planet that have been just stripped off the surface, launched up into orbit, and then aggregated together in order to form this map, right? That's why it's all kind of a little bit all over the place. That's why you have this icy border at the edge as well. That's why it's just floating in the sky, is because this is part of a planet that is being strip mined, and they're just launching the waste into space.
Whatever drugs that have been consumed to come up to that assumption, I'm down to take them.
It's called reading far too much bad sci-fi and fantasy. Oh, a lot of bad sci-fi and fantasy. Oh, so much. So many bad books. Oh. Yeah, God, I've read some. There's a genre that I like, which is like lit RPG. Or like progression RPG, which is basically what if video game mechanics in fantasy world. So like very specific like leveling and skill mechanics in your fantasy world. Right. A lot of it is very kind of fan fiction-y, for lack of a better word. Like, published in serial form online by not professional writers, shall we say, and then left largely unedited. So, like work that could do from a second pass does not get a second pass, which means that it's very hard to find good books in the genre, and I have read some very bad ones.
Yeah, I feel like books are very hit or miss, though, because I had a friend way back in early 2000s, so that'll tell you how old I am. And he was very much into Star Trek. And this is not a hit against Star Trek.
No,
but it was like
be careful. They'll come after you.
Believe it or not, my mother is a Trekkie. She loves watching Star Trek. In fact, she is downstairs right now watching Star Trek.
Did she write fan fiction back in the 70s and 80s about Star Trek?
No, she did not.
Sure?
She's one of those. She's probably the weirdest sci-fi nerd that you'd ever meet, because you would never know she's a sci-fi nerd. And she doesn't talk about like sci-fi stuff at all. She's very non-nerdy, but you get her in front of the TV and her movie or show of choice will always be something sci-fi.
That's pretty cool.
So, but yeah, Star Trek is one of those things. She's watched every season of Star Trek. Every single one.
Do I want to ask what her thoughts are on the newer stuff?
She likes it.
Okay.
Yeah, she likes it.
There's definitely, I don't really watch Star Trek, I'll admit. Like, listen, I read more than I watch a lot of TV. But obviously I've heard mixed things about a lot of the newer seasons. But there has seemed to be enough for people to like, which is it's always good.
For the newer seasons, I like it. I think it's a little... I think there's some things that are like ham-fisted in there. Some like messaging, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But it's very like... let's all be friends, like and power friendship type of thing, or
Powerpuff Girls instead of Star Trek.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's like it's very that in some cases, but overall, I still think I still like the newer stuff. But our favorite season, both me and hers favorite, like Star Trek.
Is it DS9?
No, it is Voyager.
Oh, I feel like DS9 is just the one that, like, the people who try to get me to watch Star Trek because they're very into Star Trek, DS9 is the one that, like, I hear a lot about. But, yeah, I should watch more Star Trek.
DS9's interesting. My mom, I think, like, my mom has watched all of DS9. I couldn't get into it, so...
Yeah.
I'm definitely not as much of a Trekkie as she is, but yeah.
No, that's listen. As I say, I have 117 books read so far this year, so I just spend all my time doing that. It's hard to. I do that. I cast and I work 9 to 5:30. Okay, there's not a lot of time for television in the middle there.
True. Speaking of casting, we're now to the. We'll be at the top 23 after this round.
Yeah, and there's a couple of things I want to highlight at this point. First of all, Nako eliminated as well in the player currently with the third best time, and still. Nobody except Sidzer has managed to get underneath that 1 minute mark, which is genuinely a little bit surprising to me at this point of competition.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy considering the fact that Yonex was also really fast, but just doesn't seem to have that 59 at all. And Sidzer, he's been playing, I wouldn't say he's playing super safe, but he's definitely not been racing at like a breakneck pace or anything.
Not pushing to set another kind of record in these rounds, just making sure to get there safely, which absolutely and completely viable. Turbo's in a little bit of danger here. It's not much, but a fail at the end would be an issue. It'd be an issue for any of these players, and that is one for Lumic, who all of a sudden is in a decent bit of trouble. Players coming up from behind now can't afford to fail a second time. Might still get sniped at the line. No, lands quickly and stays alive by half a second. Bubbles was coming up pretty close behind there.
Bubbles was close, but not close enough. 0.5 in Formula 1 means you were too slow. Yeah. Way too slow. So, you're out.
It's Jover for Bubbles. But we do approach our top 20. This is going to be our second last round of 4 eliminations. Once we get down to less than 16 players, we will be into the 2 eliminations. So these are kind of the 2 most brutal rounds coming up as well, because large portions of the field are getting eliminated. And you're starting to get to the point where kind of one mistake is likely to cost you the entire round.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see if my prediction, well, not my prediction, but my hope for Turbo is to get top 10. And he's doing okay. In fact, last round he wasn't first until he made that blunder. And so now I, like, just watching his driving, I could tell his confidence has been shaken. But it should get a boost considering so many people failed that plastic bounce and the water box. Yeah. So
it's really interesting seeing that plastic bounce, because it is... I wouldn't say random, but it is hard to hit consistently, and like players are going for it near every round, and if you fail, you stop dead in the water. And I feel like there is a safer line that is obviously slower, but maybe not quite as risky. The players are just really not wanting to go for.
Turbo. Oh, okay.
Turbo fine. Raceland has respawned near the back. Black Pulse will get up into 19th place. Nixobi, Choco, Corzo, Maggie, the players in the hot seat at the moment. Doesn't look like there's any more respawns out in front. There was. It's Gold, I believe, respawning behind as well. And that does mean it's Corzo, Choco, Maggie, and Gold eliminated just outside the top 20.
Yeah, Nixobi really close there. Funny enough about Nixobi, I don't know the player, but every time, fun fact about me, I'm slightly dyslexic, especially when I talk. So sometimes if you ever hear me speak like Yoda, that's why. But every time I read Nixobi, and it wasn't literally until you say it, I always pronounce his name in my head, Nick Cosby. I don't know why.
Definitely not on purpose. Surely no one on the internet would ever make reference to slightly off-color jokes.
I'm like, Nick Cosby, and then you said Nick Sobey, and I was like, you know what? That is his name.
Yeah, unless it's Nick Sobey is going to be safe for the moment. Maybe they'll get eliminated soon and we just won't have to think about it anymore at all. But at the moment, they are looking safe in this round. Black Pulse is in a tight battle. You can see Black Pulse is going much deeper inside. Does lose a lot of time compared to players who successfully get the plastic bounce. And it's going to be falling down the leaderboard as a result, just about as the speed for this jump. And is still just outside the elimination zones as some players fail on the jumps behind as well. Jojo is having some issues too on that one. And Turbo is currently leading the way, might lead the way all the way to the finish line. Noah's dropped back down into third place as the players hit there. And there is definitely a significantly smaller spread between the front and the back of the field at this point. Lumic hoping someone fails in front, crossing the last checkpoint in 16th place. And I'm not sure, maybe Tomote failed, but I don't think so. Nope, Lumic will be eliminated in 16th, Helsinki in 17th, Bayron 18th, and Sidzer down in 19th place.
Okay, so there's only two, right? No, three.
Yannick's
2.
Raceland. Is Ryuhax still alive?
From the original
From
five,
the original,
it's
you're
just
right.
2.
Because
the
Raceland
original
managed
5,
to sneak in there.
Yeah, from the original 5, it's only Ryuhax and Yanix that are left.
Yeah.
Raceland is still in there, so...
Yeah, Raceland, a player who I believe has never won a mini RPG of the week, but equally has been putting up a lot of very strong performances recently, and is definitely a name that like you might expect to see sneak in there at some point. Uh-oh. I see a German boy down in the bottom 2 at the moment.
Yeah, I was watching and I'm in pain.
It's a little bit rough.
He crashed at such a weird spot too. He crashed at the bridge area, and I'm like, oh no. So I think it's doomed for him unless somebody makes a massive mistake, and we're at the point now where I don't really see. Well, there was one person behind him, so he has a chance. He's just got to pray that one person or main in front of him.
Neko Jim has dropped down, so Neko Jim will be behind. Turbo is still just behind Mean as well, and so at this point you're looking for a mistake towards the finish line, and it'll have to come from probably Maxime. Black Pulse, Jojo's through. There is a player failing the finish line. It's Edis is struggling. Turbo though crashes on the way through the last checkpoint. That might be it. I think if Turbo had a clean final checkpoint, that would have been safety, but as it is, Turbo will be eliminated in 15th place. Neko Jim, with a crash in the final 2 or 3 checkpoints as well, will be eliminated in 14th, and we march on towards the top 10.
Yeah, bro, Turbo, you almost had it, bro. Really mad. All right, well.
Listen, it's always hard. I mean, I think literally week 1 of Mini RPG of the Week featured a top 3, where a player made 2 mistakes in the middle of the map, DNF'd, and then the player in second place crashed repeatedly at the finish line, like fully just failed to finish. And it was like, yeah, just sometimes you just gotta actually just full push it to the line, because Mini RPG of the Week, anything can kind of happen right up until the end. There's always a chance to fail, because hey, it's not just a flat road that you can drift around. There is jumps to be made. There is failable transitions.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the nature of RPGs, though. So unlucky. Really bad, Turbo. For shame.
It's also
now I get to mock you.
It is also a style that will really punish you if, like, you know, you let it get to you at all. Like, if you have one failure, it's very easy to slip into 2 or 3 more immediately. So credit to Turbo for still getting close to the line at the end there. And at the moment, credit to Mean for fighting back after both last round and this round. Now in a safe position there after being in the bottom 2. Edis, who just about survived last round, looking to go out in 13th place at the moment. Raceland respawning up ahead, but still ahead of Jules, still ahead of Edis as well. Should be fine as Jules has dropped all the way back, and Edis will cross the line. 12th place, Jules in 13th. And we're heading into the round that decides our top 10. It feels a little bit mean when you have that odd number of players to start with, and then your top 10 ends up being one of the players who gets eliminated in this round gets into the top 10 and gets onto Liquipedia, and the other one doesn't. But you know what? Just make sure that you're the player in 10th place.
Yeah, just make sure you're faster. Otherwise, skill issue.
Yeah, and it will be rigged if Admin Black Pulse gets into the top 10. Always remember that.
True. Yeah, Black Pulse, quit cheating, bro. Really bad.
Yeah. Obviously, trained the map repeatedly in advance.
True. All right, so we're down to what is much more consumable and easily visible field of players now. So now we can actually start commentating on things. Like Jojo Le Barjot is making a first major mistake, I think, out of the entire group, as he had to do a pretty hard reset there. And Black Pulse, I think he heard us, so he's
equally
clearly
hard. Yeah.
but he'll be fine though, because main is now actually nope. Okay,
Nope.
All right, it's changing back and forth. I'm just gonna shut up and stop talking about the back. But at the front though, Raceland and Yanix fighting at the front. Raceland doing really good pace, but it's gonna get sniped by Yanix at the end here, and Yanix still not able to get anywhere close to Sitzer's time.
Yeah.
101.2.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've been on the broadcast obviously focusing on kind of the elimination battles towards the back, but I think, you know, just swapping up to Yanix literally to watch that finish there towards the end, That's a clean finish compared to a lot of what we've been seeing at the back. A huge amount of speed to carry through, looking very clean and not at risk of mistakes. And that was kind of stated intention from the mapper as well, that you can go safe on this finish, you can push it a little bit and maybe gain a little bit of time, but everyone is still finishing in the same place, and we should hopefully get some of those tight battles at the end, because Yannick's had to go quite high on the jump in order to get that much speed, and there is a chance that if you mess that up, someone sneaks in below you and manages to carry that lead all the way to the finish line. Either way, here we go. Into our top 10, couple of rounds of 2 eliminations left, and once we're down to 5, we will be into single eliminations. Yannick's, I think you'd have to say, probably the favourite to win at this point. The Alpha Dream debuff not working hard enough.
Yeah, Yannick's has just been relatively solid overall. He's also been just sitting in the mid-pack when he's not having a really good round. So he hasn't done anything that's forced him to make any major mistakes. And I'm trying to see, by talking about him, maybe I can whip up a good old caster curse, but so far it hasn't been working. So I think Yannick's might actually have it in the bag here for this RPG of the week, but still there are some very fast players in the field still. One of them might be going out, though, in the back with Riceland sitting at 9th right now, and the very back 6 seconds behind the rest of the pack. Yannick, though, going to finish it first. And let's see what happens at the back. Riceland going even further back. What's happening to Riceland? He's out. It's done.
Hey,
that's
fully
it.
Gone. Yeah, had a mistake early on at that water, turn around in the pool. Didn't really recover from there on out. Jojo as well will be eliminated in 8th place. And we are definitely starting to see the single mistake is a round ender at this point as we drop down to our top 7. You can't afford to be making those. Yannick's improved the second best time on the server as well, down to a 1 minute and a 10th, but still not managing to break that 1 minute mark. And we are hitting the point as well where you kind of, at some point, need to make the swap from consistency to speed. And for Yannick's, doesn't look like that's going to be an issue in kind of, you know, the top 2, top 3 rounds. But potentially for some of these other players, it's going to be an issue. It may not be an issue for Yannick's either, specifically because Yannick's has made a mistake and will drop down into 7th place.
Yeah, but he's not too far behind, so there's definitely options for him to catch back up here. Main, on the other hand, he's dead. All right, rip Main.
It's over.
Yeah, Yannick's already sniping Tomode, so he's already catching up. Right behind Nick Cosby, as he has moved up into the field now, should be relatively safe, assuming he's no longer going to make any mistakes. Speaking of Yannick's here, as now the person in the very front, though, Ryu Hex all by himself, enjoying life as is, should be able to get into the finish just fine. Is going to get into the finish just fine. 1:04. That's not bad at all.
500th between elimination and not there at the back import. That was... Maxime made a mistake right before the final checkpoint and then managed to nail the end to re-overtake Timode and stay alive in the competition. So yeah, it be tight right now is what it boils down to. And Yannick's kind of reminding us that it's still not safe, right? Yannick's manages to haul himself out of trouble on that round, but there was definitely potential for him to drop out on that. At the moment, I think we are down to 5 players who really have not been making big mistakes. These are names we've not really seen in the elimination zones all night long. Kind of the players who were making those drops have dropped out. I think Maxime is the closest to a player left who has kind of crawled out of danger a few times.
Yep.
Oh, no!
First major mistake is going to be Nick Sobi. And I just saw somebody. Somebody.
It was Maxime. Maxime flew out. What? I was just saying Maxime made it. I've been watching Nick Sobi take that line. The only player taking the line between the palm trees. Maxime flies out again. It's over. Nick Sobi, the only player taking the line between the palm trees on that entry into the quarter pipe half flip. Nick Sobi is still making mistakes. Hang on. Let's just calm down a second here. Maxime is, still back at that quarter pipe. They're not going to lose the timer, right? No, they have 50 seconds. This sure is a top 5 round import.
Yeah, the top 5 ever. Yeah, that was the round ever from a top 5 position. But yeah, that's gonna be it for Maxime and Nick Cosby still in the race.
Yeah, Nick Cosby will stay alive for the time being, and an unfortunate round for Maxime, who just couldn't get it right on the quarter pipe earlier in the map for a long time. And into a top 4 we go. I was kind of expecting we were going to, be running out of mistakes on maybe that previous round. And then we had plus 15 seconds still being good enough to get into this top 4. Look, I'll say it, I don't think it's going to be good enough in this round at the very least. Really need to be cleaning that up. Hoping that we only see a second or two separating the top players, and maybe even less. A very exciting round would always be nice to have.
Yeah, and now we're with it being the top 4, it's pretty much down to perfection at this point. You have to not make mistakes. You have to be very clean. And so far, everybody's relatively sticking okay. Patate having a little bit of struggle in the water box, so is going to fall back here pretty significantly. And at this point, may not have the ability to climb back if everybody else drives as clean as they currently are. Nick Cosby is... I actually said that unintentionally this time, which is worse. Nick Sobi is still going to maintain his speed, is going to be ahead, and that is going to be it for Patate. Yeah, you're out.
Patate. Yeah, gone. Fully gone.
Potato, tomato.
Tomato, tomate, potato, patate.
You're squashed. You're squashed. You're burnt. You're out of here.
It's over for Patat. Nick Sobi in the top 3 at the moment. Ryu Hacks and Yannick's the other 2 players to make it this far into the competition, looking for a top 2. The thing I think at this point that is going to look to decide these rounds is to keep an eye on Nick Sobi's line between the trees as we enter the water, the elevated water pool. There's a little bit of separation between the players already, but Nick Sobi gets a little bit of a quicker line up to the jump, but then has a slightly more awkward line for the turnaround and dropped a little bit of speed for it. So overtaking Yannick's now, but may not matter as we enter into this next jump. Watch out for Nick Sobi's jump, or just watch out for the tree. The second time we have seen Nick Sobi hit that tree in the last 5 or 6 rounds. This time around, though, with just Ryu Hacks and Yannick's left, it is over. You're not recovering.
Yeah, he's not coming back from that at all. And he even messed up the water box section there, so there's no way. Even with a major mistake from Yannick's at this point, or Ryu, which they're at the end, it doesn't even matter. They're pretty much safe. So yeah, we have our final 2, Ryu and Yannick's, 2 of the original top 5 fastest players, making it into the final 2.
And Ryu Hacks will set a new PB on the round to enter the top 2. I'll also call out the comment in chat that was made, which is, they were talking about how on these harder maps you can choose to be fast or consistent to start with, and then look to improve the opposite as you move along. Or you can choose to choke, as Black Pulse did. Yeah. And unfortunately, as Nick Sobi did as well, choosing to go for a completely different line from everyone else over the course of the map. It eventually caught up to him with a top 3 finish. It's still a podium, but we're down to just Yannick's and Ryu.
Yeah, and Ryu overall, especially at the beginning, has the pace over Yannick's, but we have to watch Yannick's here and see if he's able to make up that pace. Last round didn't have the pace compared to Ryu. Ryu overall seems to have the better pace going forward, so now it's just going to be down to who is going to get this section more efficiently. And Yannick's gets a little bit of a speed boost. Is it going to be enough to snipe, though, because he shortened his dirt section there and is going to get the jump. He is going to sit ahead just for now. Ryu still on his heels, though, gets a nice jump, might have a little bit more exit speed into the engine off. He threads it just barely, too. It's going to be down to this quarter pipe here. Ryu trying to shortcut it here, clips the inside. Is it going to be enough? It isn't going to be enough, and that is going to be it. It is Yannick's winning against all odds, against us trying to predict against him. He wins the RPG of the week.
I mean, incredible final round from Yannick's, and it all comes down, and I'm so glad it did, to that plastic bounce in the middle of the map, right? And Yannick's just sending it as low as you could possibly be, just about clearing the rail to get into the pool, and that giving him the speed boost, the bump, and then going as well for, as you pointed out during the round import, still a quick turnaround, using the speed that he gained from an optimal bump to just say, I'm going to turn earlier and trust that I still have the speed to stay in front. It was brave. It was different lines through the end from both players as well. I think Ryu was probably half a car length away from being just high enough up to, like, actually, if he'd been half a car length higher, maybe would have had the speed to catch because lost a little bit of speed on the bump. Incredible round. Genuinely, I think that's a round you can go back and point to like 3 or 4 individual moments from each player that could have made the difference either way.
Yeah, there were just like little tit for tats that they both had in that last round that was really exciting. And I was like, I can't wait for the ending rounds because I knew something crazy was going to happen because I know how good some of these players are, especially even with RPG and kind of the craziness that it throws at people. Some players are just naturally born to drive these tracks very efficiently, and it just looks cool to watch. And especially that section with the plastic water box, as I call it, the water box area. I knew from the get-go that was going to be interesting because of the trick that you had to make there. And I mean, that's what gave Yonex the win, really. Realistically, that's what gave him the win because he risked it so hard. He got so much low air on that and was able to get a lot of exit speed from the bounce because his car was already aligned to the direction he needed to go compared to Ryu, who had to just slightly turn just a little bit more. All that it took.
It's literally all that it took, and credit once again to Rage Ovalon for a very fun map this week. And I think as a mapper as well, you have to see a feature like that is kind of, an interesting feature as well. Seeing that actually be with the sides rounds and just execution on an interesting feature, always a lot of fun. And if you want to be a mapper, not you Import, you the audience, although maybe you Import, if you want to map for Mini RPG of the Week,
I'm not a mapper, it's okay.
Listen, we can provide a little bit of support. Zederate, the admin over for Mini RPG of the Week, will help most of our mappers get these maps across the line, make sure that they are competition ready by the time they get out on the server, and then you get to see some of the best players in the world at Mini RPG dismantle them. Something else I want to highlight, Import, because we talked about it a lot, I talked about it a lot during the warm-up. No cuts. A map that looked very, very open to begin with, but didn't have any cuts, or at least none the players found during our warm-up.
Yeah, that was interesting, right? Because normally there's a reroute option that's available. I've even noticed in the RPG of the weeks that I played, there was always like a reroute option available, and there wasn't this time.
Yeah.
So either the people are just bad today at finding the cut, or the mapper did a really good job.
And I'm going to lean towards the mapper being a really good job because I'm just optimistic like that. So thank you once again to Rage Ovalon. Thank you very much for today's map, and again, do reach out if you have an interest in mapping for Mini RPG of the Week. We'd love to have you. Jump over to the Discord and you can find all the information there. You can get it in the Twitch chat at the moment. And Import, thank you very much as well for joining. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. And, we actually talked about the Trackmania sometimes, which I feel like is always a net positive.
Yeah, of course. It's that's why we're here, right? For Trackmania or Star Trek? I don't remember.
Or something like that. If anyone wants book recommendations, I have them. If anyone wants to know which season of Star Trek they should be watching, Import's mom has got you covered.
Wait.
That's the note that we'll leave it on. Once again, thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you back next week for Mini RPG of the Week, Season 3, Episode 20. By God, they're getting up there. See you soon.
Tell me I can count on you. Promise me you'll get me through. Just tell me I can do this too. For everything we fight to never lose. 'Cause everything we want, oh, is everything we need. Just like I need you. Oh, it's just like you need me.